Nice night here in Pittsburgh. It has cooled off a bit, but clear skies above. We started under a delay last night. It's game 2 of this 4-game series. The Cubs a 5-2 winner in the opener last night, and another debut this evening as young Addison Russell, JD, will become the youngest player in the National League.
Yeah, just 21 years of age. He has not played a whole lot of professional baseball, but he's played a whole lot of really good professional baseball when he has been healthy. He was having a good year down at Iowa. The really intriguing thing is the shift for a guy who's been a shortstop to second base. Just a handful of games down there at Iowa this year at second base. We'll see how he handles it.
And a good matchup of lefties as Travis Wood will go for the Cubs. He's had a good amount of success in this ballpark. Great effort his last time out. And the Cubs know all about Francisco Liriano. He's got really good stuff.
Yeah, Liriano's been really good against the Cubs since joining the Pirates. He's made 8 starts combined, 2013 and last year. And in those 8 starts, a 1.84 ERA against the Cubs. And for Travis Wood, as you mentioned, really good here, 2.31 ERA at PNC Park.
And great news, the update, the woman who got hit by the foul ball last night, we had a long delay, out of the hospital today. That's great news. Well, Anthony Rizzo and Starlin Castro, all-stars at this level. They've got a little more help with Chris Bryant and Addison Russell in the mix. Cubs and Bucks next. Baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Still brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you. Honda Dream Garage Sales Event. Now at your Honda dealer. Napa, home of Napa know-how. Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at localfordstores.com. Subway, make a smart play for savory subs this season. Score more flavor at Subway restaurants. Subway, eat fresh. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Chicago Cubs baseball in beautiful high definition on WGN-TV is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. It's going to be a windy couple of nights here tonight and tomorrow as we check out the Cubs batting order. It is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Fowler leading off. Rizzo moving up to the 2 spot against the lefty Soler, Bryant, Castro in the middle. Chris Denorfia gets his first start as a Cub. Began the year on the DL. Wellington Castillo will catch. Travis Wood, the pitcher, and yeah, Addison Russell's going to hit 9th in his debut.
Pirates defensively, a little different look tonight. Sean Rodriguez gets a start in right field. He can play all over the field. As a matter of fact, he has played every position except for pitcher and catcher in a major league uniform. He's got McCutchen and Marte joining him out there in the outfield. Harrison Gung, Walker, and a familiar face at first base, Corey Hart, in there tonight. Francisco Cervelli behind the plate, and Francisco Liriano does the pitching for the Pirates. 2 starts, he's pitched well. 0-1. Run support's been an issue so far in the early going for the talented left-hander.
A couple of Franciscos in the Pirates battery, Liriano and Cervelli. As you see, the Cubs' top 2 prospects, and they're both now in the major leagues. Yeah, Addison Russell in game 1 of a doubleheader yesterday, playing for Iowa against the Dodgers' top affiliate, Oklahoma City. 2 outs, bottom of the 7th, an 0-2 count. He hit a hanging curveball from Scott Baker into center to break up what would have been a 7-inning perfect game. Joe West, the crew chief, will call balls and strikes. Gabe Morales, Kerwin Danley, and DJ Rayburn are around the bases. So it's Liriano against the switch hitting Fowler to get us started, and a sinker strike on the inside corner. Again, the fan who was hit by that foul ball early in the game yesterday out of the hospital today. And due to privacy considerations and laws, her name has not been released. But we're just happy she's out of the hospital. We had a 23-minute delay in the 2nd inning. After that foul ball went back to the screen, and she was standing in the front row and went down, but good news today. Fowler, strike 2, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Slider misses inside.
Let's take a look at our Gander Mountain game time weather. 55 degrees, a little breezy. Mostly cloudy, and that wind will be picking up later on tonight and tomorrow. Brought to you by Gander Mountain, low price every day, guaranteed.
There's a leadoff walk. Fowler went 0 for 5 in the opener, but on base to start tonight. That'll bring up Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, continuing the theme we've been talking about through these first couple of weeks of the season. The Cubs are a more patient group this year, seeing a lot of pitches, working walks, and that's a pretty good approach against Liriano. He's tough to hit. He doesn't give up a lot of hits in his career. Opposing batters hitting just .239 against him. But if you're patient, you can work some walks.
The Cubs 2nd in the league in on-base percentage at .327. The Dodgers at .368. Running away from the rest of the field at the moment. Strike called on Rizzo.
Liriano's at his best, and we've basically seen him at his best the last couple of years. He's done a lot of good work against the Cubs. It's a lot of sinkers down around the knees, a good slider, and an outstanding changeup.
That is a cool looking glove by Liriano. The Pirates colors. Fits right into that uniform.
It's very important to accessorize. You got to coordinate the outfit.
Would not look very good if he got traded to the Reds or the Phillies. See, Fowler was back to the bag trying to read that Liriano move. And it's 2-1. Solera's on deck, just underway. Cubs 7-5. The Pirates 6-7. This is the Cubs' first game against a team with a sub-500 record. Slide step and blocked by Cervelli. It's a 3-1 count on Rizzo.
Might be an action pitch here. They may turn Fowler loose on 3-1. Rizzo with a very good eye at the plate. Count on ball 4 or contact, and Fowler moving may create some holes for Rizzo. Nope.
Not going, and Anthony just got hit for a major league leading 6th time.
This time it's rush that front arm. Guess it doesn't much matter, just that he did.
Yep. Left forearm area.
Well, chance to strike early here against Liriano, and he's been good for a while now. Going back to last year, he's allowed 3 earned runs or less in each of his last 9 starts. That's going back to August 25th. And in that time, he's 4-1 with a .142 earned run average.
Soler coming off the first 4-hit game of his career last night, 4 for 5.
Yeah, an impressive night for Soler, including turning on a 100-mile-an-hour fastball and hitting a rocket into the left field corner.
In the inside corner.
And one of the things that makes Liriano tough is his changeup and his slider. They're pretty much at the same speed. One cuts one way, one fades the other. Very difficult for the hitters to pick that up.
Ooh, really? I'm not so sure. Joe West.
Say it ain't so, Joe.
Very low strike call. No, 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 no. That's the lowest strike I think I've ever seen called.
Almost bounced. I think it was inside, too.
I agree with you, Joe. Madden, that is. You know what? I'll tell you after this pitch.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
That's a better result than him swinging at that pitch because he probably hits into a double play.
Perhaps.
You don't want to swing at that pitch. They call it a strike or not. The 0-1 to Bryant, driven the other way, deep right. Rodriguez is back on it, and it's off the wall. Fowler's going to score. Rizzo will be held at third. Bryant now caught between second and third, and he's going to get back.
Can't believe they didn't make a play on him.
Corey Hart just held onto the ball. It's a double for Bryant, and it's 1-0.
He's so strong. The ability that this pitch appears to be moving in on him. Watch him pull the hands in and not try to pull that ball, but to drive it the other way. That's just remarkable hitting. That is really, really impressive stuff. Because that's where pitchers are going to go. They're going to feel like they have to try to crowd him, and if he can fight that pitch off, not just fight it off, but drive it. I mean, what's Plan B for these pitchers?
So he's 4 out of 5 in the series, and it sets it up for Castro, second and third with only 1 out and a strike call. Walk, hit batter, called strike 3, a pitch that looked to be way out of the zone, and then a double by Bryant. So they have jumped on Liriano here early.
Castro had a couple of knocks in the ball game last night, as well as a couple of sterling defensive plays. Time for a new weapon. Watching Bryant swing and trying to think of a comp. Just, I guess, in terms of the limited motion, the ease of the swing, it reminds me a little bit of Pujols. The ability to impart that backspin. It's such great carry. Explosive stuff. Yeah.
Good call.
And then the kind of the way he's been running the bases is Albert-like too.
One got away from Liriano. Well, after last night's Little League home run, I think Chris is just going to decide I'm going to run until somebody throws me out.
Yeah,
it's not a bad play.
Yeah, he's been very aggressive on the bases, and there are times where he's going to have to dial it back. But you'd rather see a guy when he first comes to the big leagues maybe make some mistakes of aggression as opposed to playing scared.
Totally. And Starlin chased a bad one. So 2 outs in the inning, and here comes DeNorfia. One for one off the bench last night, but this is his first start of the year. Recently came off the disabled list and a strained hamstring suffered in spring training. Infield back, 2 outs, a run in, and outside for ball 1. The roster move today. Addison Russell selected from AAA Iowa. Arismendi Alcantara, who had really been scuffling, was optioned. And Mike Olt transferred to the 60-day disabled list to make room for Russell on the Cubs' 40-man roster.
Yeah, Alcantara, it's tough to get anything going too once he started to lose playing time.
On the ground to the shortstop. Gung makes the play, and the inning is over. The Cubs strike first. It's the Cubs 1 and the Pirates coming up. Clint, Hurdle, Harrison, Walker, McCutcheon at the top. Hart, Marte, Gung in the middle. Cervelli, Rodriguez, and Liriano rounding it out.
So as we look at the Cubs defense, you'll see Chris DeNorfia making his first start in left, Fowler and Soler every day in center and right. That infield, all 4 of those guys 25 years of age or younger. Bryant, Castro, Russell, and Rizzo. Get used to it. Wellington Castillo behind the plate. Travis Wood on the mound. Travis 1 up, 1 down, 2.31 ERA so far. Coming off an outstanding effort against the Cincinnati Reds.
750 career innings pitched, 35 wins, 49 losses. An all-star 2 years ago. And high for a ball on Harrison. Four groundouts last night for Josh Harrison.
Yeah, and a couple really well hit balls. Hit a rocket up the middle that Castro made a heck of a play on. Then he hit another one off Arrieta's leg that deflected to Castro.
The ball hit a ton. Soler going after it. It's gone. It just kept carrying, and Josh Harrison with an opposite field leadoff home run.
Well, you talked about all the ground balls last night. Travis Wood, much more of a fly ball pitcher, and that's why he's had a lot of success in this yard. This is a good place for a fly ball pitcher, but unfortunately for Travis, this fly ball doesn't stay in the yard. Belly button high fastball out away from him, and Harrison showing some very impressive opposite field power.
So his second home run, first allowed by Wood here in the early going, in his third start, and we're tied at 1.
Wood went into the 8th in his last start. Pitched shutout baseball, allowed just 3 hits, a couple of walks, 7 strikeouts. Boy, he was strike one on just about everybody. Yeah. So it seemed, and it was go, go, go. Very aggressive in his approach.
Neil Walker, the switch batter, hitting right-handed. 24 homers since the start of last year. It's tied with Brian Dozier of the Twins, the major league lead among second basemen, but you alluded to it last night. Most of his home runs come left-handed.
Yeah, 21 of 23 left-handed. One of the ones he hit as a right-handed batter last year was off Travis Wood. But, yeah, far more powerful from the left side.
Cutter way off the plate inside. By design, and it's 1-2.
Trying to follow up an outstanding effort that was put forth by Jake Arrieta last night. 3 hits allowed in the first inning, and then he settled in, allowed just 1 more the rest of the way. A bunch of clean innings, didn't walk anybody. Retired, what, 16 in a row at one point?
Yeah. Another inside cutter. 2-2. Pirates off to a slow start. They had gotten back to 500 after sweeping Milwaukee, and then put a game under the break-even mark with that loss last night. Popped up behind the plate. Castillo, and it was on the other side of the net.
Wellington was willing to try to go through the net to make this catch.
To changeup. Hit in the air, foul to right. We'd love to get your Cubs selfies. Hashtag WGN Cubs on Twitter. A big sports night. We've got obviously some late night hockey later. And the Cubs and the Pirates just getting started here. From 0-2 to a full count. Is that going to be our ride to Cincinnati
it is.
On Thursday?
Yep. We're going to bring a film crew. We're going to make a documentary.
Right up the mighty Ohio. It's caught by Castro. I think we've had this conversation before. Would it be up the Ohio or down the Ohio to Cincinnati?
Down the Ohio.
Somebody will tell us. Now McCutchen, bit of a slow start, hitting just .238, but that likely won't continue. Perennial MVP candidate, won it 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 of the 4 hits allowed by Jake Arrieta last night, a first inning RBI single and then a double in the 6th.
Wood deals, and it's a high strike to make it 1-2. So we're getting down, yes, down the Ohio River, downstream.
We were here all last night, and not once did either of us say confluence.
That's true. But you just said it, so it's in the books.
Good. Check that box.
Corey Hart is on deck. Soler makes a catch. 2 away, and now the former Brewer and Mariner, Corey Hart. Hart known more as a corner outfielder, but he actually began his pro career as an 18-year-old in the Brewers system as a first baseman, and that's where he's playing tonight. He's had a lot of leg troubles, particularly his right knee, the last few years, and he also took 3 stitches in his foot during spring training. He cut himself on a hot tub.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Ground ball picked up by Castro, and the inning is over. Leadoff homer, Josh Harrison. Addison Russell will hit 3rd in the 2nd.
Log on to WGNTV.com right now. Click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner. Connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and information from the comfort of your home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape. Pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and more. Everything you need to have more fun at home this summer. Corey Hart, be careful, though, in that hot tub.
Indeed. Swing and a miss by Wellington Castillo. Each team with a run in the first. Chris Bryant RBI double. Josh Harrison, leadoff homer. Castillo, Wood, and Russell here in this second inning.
Joe Maddon's making this 3-catcher rotation work. Wellington Castillo has been very good against left-handed pitching in his career. Last year hit .301 to .350 on base, better than .500 slugging percentage against southpaws. These kind of numbers, he's kind of lurking down there towards the bottom of the order.
Mariano's offering misses. 6'2", 225 from San Cristobal in the Dominican Republic. Been around a while. He's only 31. Got the kind of stuff you would think, if he remains healthy, he should be able to pitch for quite a while. Already 10 years in. Hey, Cub fans, let's go. The Cubs return to action at Wrigley Field this coming Monday for 3 against these Pirates, followed by 3 with the Brewers. Seats are still available for every game. Get your tickets at Cubs.com. Wood 1 for 7 to start his season. You see, fine stat line for a pitcher, 9 career home runs. He's homered in every season in the big leagues. Russell on deck.
Mariano getting a lot of run on that 2-seam fastball tonight.
Changeup. Wood able to get a piece. Still 2-2. Here comes Russell. His first career plate appearance. Talking to a veteran in the clubhouse today about all the talent that has been infused into this roster, and he said, we've got our team now. Because those guys could see the talent in spring training.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Russell and Bryant both had nice months of March.
Good job there. Keyholing on the changeup.
From Pensacola, Florida, 6 feet, 200 pounds. Career .301 hitter in the minors. And he bounces one near second. Walker picks it up and throws him out. A 1-2-3 second for Liriano. And it's 1-1 after an inning and a half. Baseball blog at WGNTV.com. Sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent. Serving the area for 37 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. Starling Marte hit a 9th inning home run last night, his 3rd in 4 games, and he pushes a bunt toward first, and it rolls foul. Gets hit by a lot of pitches, runs well. That helps when guys make defensive mistakes. Terrific outfielder. Marte is kind of getting into the prime of his career.
And what is he, 26, something like that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Drives that ball to deep center, and Fowler can only watch it go into the Pirates bullpen. That ball is crushed. The lead is heating up.
13 home runs last year, but I think the Pirates feel like there's a lot more in there in terms of power from Marte, and certainly the early trend would suggest that's the case. That's number 5 for him already here in the early going. He tries to bunts it foul, and then takes a big swing and delivers a long ball. Second time the Pirates have started an inning with a home run. That's not a good trend if you're Travis Wood.
It's his 4th homer in 5 games now. Jung Ho Kang, 2nd straight start for Jordy Mercer. Got hit by a pitch a couple of days ago in the ribs. On the ground to Bryant. Well, the catcher, Francisco Cervelli. One subtraction a lot of people think or thought in the offseason would hurt the Pirates was Russell Martin, who signed with the Blue Jays. Cervelli has not started more than 80 games in a season in his career. He was acquired from the Yankees in November for left-hander Justin Wilson.
Yeah, very difficult to replace Russell Martin. He meant a lot to this club. Very good back behind the plate in terms of pitch framing, working with the pitching staff, and a really good offensive player.
Yeah, he had a great year last year. Hit .290. Two and 0 the count. Make it 2-1. Cervelli has battled a lot of injuries in his career. Also served a 50-game PED suspension 2013 in the aftermath of the biogenesis scandal. 3-1. Sean Rodriguez on deck. Cervelli leans in and takes ball 4 just off the outside corner.
Trying to throw that backdoor cutter to the outside edge, just couldn't get it all the way back.
Cubs pitching coach Chris Bosio. Now Rodriguez, as JD mentioned, he's a guy who can play everywhere. Has started in the big leagues at every position except pitcher and catcher. And not a big shock that a guy like that would have played for Joe Madden for a long time in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, he's like Ben Zobrist light over there. Travis not quite as sharp here in the early going as he was last time out, and maybe that was the message from Castillo. Let's be a little bit more aggressive here with these hitters at the bottom of the order.
Pirates facing a left-handed starter for the first time this season. The last team to face a lefty for the first time. The 2-0 on the way is hit foul off to the right. Pitcher Liriano is on deck. Some suspensions handed out by MLB. Royals reliever Kelvin Herrera, 5 games. After that very testy series against the Oakland A's. He threw behind Brett Laurie. Foul ball, just foul. Ball made by DJ Rayburn.
David Ortiz was suspended 1 game for bumping an umpire. He has appealed his suspension. I don't know if Herrera has decided to appeal his or not.
Full count, 3-2, and strike 3 called on Rodriguez, who looks befuddled. First strikeout for Travis Wood.
Joe looks like maybe he's going to be a little generous tonight, up and down. That one off the plate a little bit in, too.
It's cold. Probably be in the 40s by the time we finish tonight. Liriano, a career .089 hitter without an extra base hit. I wonder if he's
closing in on me.
He might be.
How many ABs does he have?
Just thought about that. Let's see.
He hasn't been in the National League that long.
112 career at bats. Okay. He's got a long way to go. You had how many? 270?
3 something, I think. If you don't know what we're talking about, I have the record. Very proud of my record of the most at bats without an extra base hit. Combination of lack of power, lack of speed.
373 at bats. Yeah, he's got to pitch for another 10 years or so to catch you. It's 2-1. Top of the order coming up.
you by Budweiser. Still brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you. With or without a baseball in it.
Yeah, it feels like that's going to be a thing at the ballpark. Starling Marte with a long leadoff home run in the second after Josh Harrison hit a blast to begin the first.
Yeah, they're making this big ballpark play small tonight, aren't they? It's windy. I don't know if the wind helped either one of those balls. They're both really well struck. Comes a souvenir for that little one.
Well, that's a nice job, Starling. Thank you, honey. I'll put it in my beverage.
This guy's like wants to be the mayor of Pittsburgh. You're hitting home runs, giving away baseballs to little children.
Fowler walked and scored in the first inning. Liriano doesn't throw much that's straight, does he?
No.
He's got a ton of movement on everything tonight.
That arm side run, and then there's a great example of it there. Changeup moves one way, the slider cuts the other way.
He was an all-star 2006 with the Twins. Signed originally by the Giants in 2000. Another good sinker. 16-game winner in his first year with the Pirates 2 years ago. And he was the National League Comeback Player of the Year. He has won that award in each league. And I'm sure he'd rather not win it again, because that means he'll have to have some sort of bad year before.
Coming back from something, yes. He's the Frank Robinson of the Comeback Player of the Year award. Robbie won MVPs in both leagues.
Ball four. Another walk for Fowler. I think he and Neil Walker should switch surnames.
Did Fowler become the Walker?
Yeah. Seems more appropriate. Joe's zone is rather large.
Yeah, you know, Joe's been at this a long time. The reputation he had years ago was as kind of a tight home plate umpire.
Boy, that one looked to be way off the outside.
Open things up here. It's like he's hunting strikes. Rizzo offering at this slider for strike two. You see number one there that was called a strike, well off the outside corner.
Pulled into right on an 0-2 offering. So 2 on, nobody out. Just like in the first. Top of the order has been setting the table throughout this series.
Yeah, that breaking ball stays on the plate. It's not a horrible pitch. It's just when Rizzo, he's so close to home plate, a ball in the outside corner is very easy for him to hit hard. And in that instance, even hook it into right field, go out and pull that ball. Another chance for Soler, who was rung up on a bad pitch first time. Soler, you just have to turn the page. Don't worry about that particular pitch. Don't think just because it was called a strike last time that it would be again here. Bring that at bat with you.
High drive to center. Fowler's going to tag. McCutchen makes the catch. Rizzo's got a hold, but they'll be at the corners for Chris Bryant with only one out.
See, now I don't understand what just happened there. Ball came in from the outfield, and Neil Walker chose to throw the ball out of play. I mean, if you're a pitcher and the ball has some kind of scuff on it because it was hit,
yeah, why wouldn't you?
You don't want that thrown out of play. You want, at least you want the ball back in your hand so you can decide whether you want to use it or not.
It's a good catch. The pitch to Bryant, and he fouled that one off himself. I don't know what year it was, but they used to let you pitch with balls that had been thrown in the dirt, right?
Yeah. Now the average lifespan of a baseball, I think, is like 6 pitches now. And they don't want pitchers throwing defaced balls, but routine ground ball to short, and it comes back around. If you're a pitcher and that ball happens to have a little scuff on it or something that might create a little movement, some guys would prefer to throw that baseball.
If you go back a few years, you remember batters would occasionally ask the umpire to look at a ball. And then the umpire would look at it. And he'd either throw it out of play or say, no, it looks fine. Give it back to the catcher.
Right. It's like every ball now, just about every ball that gets put in play gets thrown out.
Here's a pitch off the end of the bat. Oh, it gets by Corey Hart. A run scores. Rizzo on his way to third. That's an error on Hart. It clearly had some English on it right off the end of the bat. Hart has not played a lot of first base this season. I think only a couple of innings before tonight.
Yeah, and you just never expect this ball hit you on the ground the other way. That doesn't excuse it for not making a play. Kind of awkwardly went after that baseball, maybe trying to position himself to make a throw to second base. Good base running by Rizzo to get over to third.
So a 2-2 tie. Bryant has been right in the middle of all the run scoring for the Cubs in this series. Bunted by Castro as he showed late. Don't know if that was by design or
yeah, might have been a
attack.
little safety squeeze.
Bryant did get an RBI, so he's knocked in both Cubs runs. He drove in 3 last night and scored another. Was about a foot lower. I mean, that's low, but
it looked certainly like a better pitch than the other one. And, maybe Soler was just an outlier.
Toward the hole and through. Cubs lead 3-2 on the RBI single by Castro as Rizzo is in.
Yeah, this lineup is just going to create all kinds of opportunities, and pitchers are going to really have to battle to get through it.
Let's look at our Mazda replay cam. Mazda, conviction, creativity, courage. This is the Mazda way.
He laid off the previous one, and that forces Liriano up in the zone a little bit with the changeup. Castro, who's been finding a lot of holes of late, he's not driving the baseball much, but he's getting his hits. And that's what I was talking about. You know, they've got patient hitters. They've got guys that drive the ball out of the ballpark. And Castro, they've got a high contact guy. He's always putting the ball in play. Just a nice mix of patient hitters, aggressive hitters. Good balance left and right. Norfie has been really good against lefties in his career to the tune of a .292 batting average.
One ball, one strike. The Connecticut native Chris Denorfia to Wheaton College. Debuted in 2005 with the Reds. Here's a pitch. It's low. Two on the way. He got him. Pumped it up to 94 on that fastball. It's his fifth strikeout.
And maybe the best fastball of the night for Liriano. Again, runner off the outside part of the plate for his fifth strikeout. A lot of deep counts. Pitch count starting to mount here. 63 pitches for Liriano as he works in the third.
Third start of the year for Castillo, working with Travis Wood, who's on deck. Cubs lead for the second time here in the early going. Cubs did not win a series all of last year against these Pirates. They went 0 for 6. They went 5 and 14 in games. They won last night. And these two teams are going to play each other 10 times over the next 4 weeks, including last night. Swing and a miss. 2-2.
And Liriano really fighting himself right now, kind of drifting off towards the third base side, leaving a lot of balls up. That was a changeup. He really sold it. He got a swing and miss on it, but highly doubt that he wanted to throw a changeup that high.
Full now, 3-2. Bryant and Castro will be moving with the payoff pitch here with 2 outs.
I'm guessing changeup.
It was a sinker.
I'm wrong.
Yeah, similar movement, just a little harder. Cubs get 2 and lead this one 3-2 in the third. Cub fans, show your Cubby pride with Cubs checking and an official Cubs MasterCard debit card. Only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Member FDIC. Bryant and Castro with RBIs to give the Cubs a 3-2 advantage. As we move to the bottom of the third, Harrison with a leadoff home run in the first inning. Marte in the second. Woods 0-1. Get in the air and deep. Fowler will get to the spot and make the catch.
From there, like Harrison got another one, but maybe down off the end of the bat a little bit. Travis able to reverse that trend of leadoff home runs. Harrison out number one on a fly to center. Yeah, down off the end of the bat on a changeup, looked like. A little something on. Maybe just turned over his fastball a little bit. Little dead fish heater. Wind has picked up.
Walker high in the air and shallow and caught by the shortstop. Castro. 2 quick outs. Cutchin flied to right. Ball 1.
I wonder if McCutchen doesn't hit for power if he'll grow his hair back.
It's a good question. Jason Hamill, Vance Worley tomorrow night. Kyle Hendricks, Jeff Locke, a left-hander, on Thursday. Be an 11:35 Chicago time start, and then off to Cincinnati.
Have brunch with us.
Yeah.
McCutchen hit the ball to hard to right field last time up. Like he's thinking about trying to let the ball get a little deep, hit it the other way, and Wood able to tie him up with that inside fastball there.
Down the middle, swing and a miss, strike three. A shutdown third for Travis Wood.
Top of the fourth, 3-2 Cubs lead this season at Wrigley Field. The Cubs will feature Budweiser Bleacher Fridays on select dates throughout the season. Budweiser Bleacher Fridays will include post-game entertainment, exclusive giveaway items, special food and beverages, and so much more. For more information and to buy your Budweiser Bleacher tickets, visit Cubs.com.
Cubs getting to Liriano for a couple in the third inning to take their second lead of the ball game, and a foul strike on Travis Wood. Addison Russell on deck. Grounded out in his first career plate appearance. Cardinals are in Washington, and the Nationals lead 1-0 in the bottom of the third there. Phillies 2-1 over the Marlins in the bottom of the fourth. And Philadelphia reports that Mike Redmond might be on the hot seat in Miami after a 3-10 start.
And no vote of confidence from Jeffrey Loria when he was asked about it today. He just said, "I'm not into palace intrigue." Or whatever that's worth.
The 2-11 Brewers decided to wear their batting practice tops for the game tonight against the Reds. For whatever that's worth.
It's just trying to create a more relaxed vibe. Yeah. Think about it, just 2 weeks ago the season's starting and everybody's optimistic, and Brewers off to this horrendous start. Managers in jeopardy. Brian Price went on a rant yesterday.
Well, it was an all-timer too. Called strike three.
Like
here's Russell.
So much stress so early in the year. The Marlins held a players-only clubhouse meeting the other day.
That is early.
So much for it's a marathon, we're not going to panic. All right, first big league knock. See if you can get it here.
Major league debut for Russell. Cubs were not getting much production out of second base. So here he is. Came over in the Hamel-Samardzija deal last July from Oakland. Let's see where this one was.
Lariano hit his target. Got the call. Go.
Chased a bad one. Ball gets away from Cervelli, and he'll get him.
He called strike to Soler down around the shoes, and that high inside one to Russell might get some people thinking, well, Joe West, a veteran umpire, is just testing those young kids, and I don't think that's the case. I think Joe's just had a big zone tonight. Well, I should say a generous zone. Our pitch tracks showed that one was the top of the zone on the inside corner. Fowler with a couple of leadoff walks, and he's scored both times.
For third foul. How you doing over there? You going to be warm enough tonight?
Well, I've got a ski cap here just in case. And a raincoat, an extra layer back there. Probably a hot cup of coffee might help here in short order. You all right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's chilly, but it's that river breeze.
The whole land breeze, sea breeze thing. It's we've got a little protection here.
Fowler has walked both times.
So is that one of those is the Pennsylvania flag and one is the city of Pittsburgh, I'm guessing?
And Fowler went for strike three. Yeah, that's a good guess. 3-2 Cubs. Schedule as this road trip continues. 2 more here and then 3 at Cincinnati, and then the Pirates and the Brewers on the upcoming homestand. Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store at localfordstores.com. Corey Hart committed an error in the third inning. 2 balls, no strikes. Wood home. Bounced foul.
Hart, a 2-time All-Star, 2008, 2010, a couple of years removed. Since 2012, his last real productive year. He had 30 home runs that year for Milwaukee. Missed all of 2013 with a couple of knee surgeries.
Bounced that one off his foot.
33 years of age. His prime was a good, solid player, dangerous player. Had power, speed. He was a big guy. He had some little man skills. He could steal a base. He would bunt for a hit from time to time. Turned out a couple of top 40 hits.
We got more than one. Bryant leaves his feet, makes a catch. What did Joe Madden say the other day? Thanks for being tall.
Yeah, way to be tall when he made that diving catch in his debut. This one not as impressive as that one, but still a nice quick reaction by Bryant. We've talked about him a lot. He's a very good athlete. I like his chances of surviving there at third base. There's been a lot of speculation about whether that would be the case or not. Some of the, some ground balls, there could be issues of staying down on because of his height. But a lot of that's just repetition. Take a lot, take fungos, work hard at it.
So this is not a leading question. It's a serious question about Starling Marte. If you're Clint Hurdle, you've got a guy who's hit 4 home runs the last 5 days. Do you want him bunting here?
No, okay. Especially if he was hitting second tonight and he had McCutchen and Hart behind him, maybe.
Okay,
but not now.
Yeah,
I want extra bases out of him. And you could make the argument, well, if he could bunt and steal second to get into scoring position, he could, but that's tougher to do with Travis Wood on the mound. Wood's always been tough to run on. Of course, he showed bunt last time up before he hit his home run, too, right? So maybe that's just he's going to repeat. It worked last time. I'm going to do it again this time.
I think I would file it under the category you have mentioned before, and that is guys thinking they're doing things to help the team. It looks like a good team play, swing and a miss on a curveball. But there are times when it's like, no, hit the ball out of the park.
Yeah, to understand where you are in the game, your role in the lineup.
So it comes from a good place, but you do see it on occasion as he swings and misses. And he's saying, see, guys, you should have bunted. I struck out instead. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. You were right. Corey Hart did have 2 hits.
Yeah, I got the sunglasses at night, and there's a
Never Surrender. I guess was the other one I forgot. Good call.
Thank you.
One and one. Jung Ho Gung.
Looks like Kang, but pronounced Gung. From Korea.
First position player to go from the Korean baseball organization to the major leagues.
Getting an opportunity to start here because Jordy Mercer is banged up. Got hit in the ribcage with a Matt Garza fastball the other day.
Hit hard, and that's a single in the left.
Good try by Castro. That ball just had too much pace. Ooh, had him leaning.
Out at first. So Wood picks him off, and that will end the inning. Cubs still lead 3-2. By Xfinity, Travis Wood. His pickoff move. Never got to the bag.
That's a quick little step and go over there by Travis Wood.
The Speed Replay is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
Rizzo continues to get on base at a very high rate. 2 reaches tonight, hit by a pitch, and a solid single to right.
Ball and 2 strikes. Line shot right field. Rodriguez hauls it in.
Time for the 5th inning, brought to you by Fifth Third Bank, the Curious Bank.
How about the New York Mets?
Meet the Mets.
4-0 in the bottom of the 5th, leading Atlanta. The Mets have won 8 in a row. New York 10-3 start the season. 0-1 on Soler. Borderline and didn't get the call.
Mets 4th in the league in runs scored. Fourth in the league in ERA.
They have not lost at home. 7-0 at Citi Field.
Starters are 9-2 with a .284 earned run average.
2-1 pitch. It's 2-2. Former Cub Luis Valbuena hit 2 home runs last night for Houston in the Astros win in Seattle. Cut and a miss, strike 3. 9 punch outs for Liriano. Chris Bryant, however, has not struck out. He doubled in the first inning to make it 1-0. And then picked up another RBI and a ground ball to first that was mishandled by Corey Hart. That tied the game at 2. Castro would follow that up with an RBI single.
Banged a couple off the walls here. One last night, one tonight. Just a matter of time before he hits one over.
Remember what I said.
It's going to go to right.
Yeah.
That would have been a good pitch, too.
Liriano nearing 100 pitches. 96 and counting. Bryant out into center. McCutchen racing after it, and he's got it. Smooth sailing McCutchen out there in center field to end the inning. We go to the bottom of the 5th. It's the Cubs 3 and the Pirates 2.
Kids Club of the Chicago Cubs. Team up with Clark as a member of Clark's crew and receive kid-specific perks, experiences, and merchandise. Cubs.com/Clark to sign up and be part of the fun. There's Clark and Addison. You get it? See what we're doing there?
Got it. Seven, 8, 9. Cervelli, Rodriguez, Liriano. Tapped foul.
Base hit by Gung in the bottom of the 4th. Interrupted a stretch of 7 consecutive retired by Wood. Promptly picked him off.
No batting gloves for Cervelli as he rips one in the left. Pitch was in a good place to hit. And he's on for the second time. It's kind of center cut, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Cervelli doesn't have a lot of power, so he's a guy you're probably going to be willing to throw one over the heart of the plate to. But I think Travis like to get that one down a little bit.
Rodriguez caught looking on strikes in the second. And he lines to right. Soler will make the catch. And Cervelli back to first. And Garrett Cole, not scheduled to pitch in this series, is going to pinch hit for Liriano.
Jorge's got a notion of trying to double up Cervelli at first base. Didn't get a clean grip on it. Would not have had a legitimate shot at him anyway, but one of these days he's going to nail a slow-footed runner going down that first baseline on a solid one hopper to right field.
Cole, a career 176 hitter, and he bunts through strike one. Radames Liz is up in the Pirates bullpen. Cole's only career home run was at Wrigley Field off Blake Parker last September the 7th. Strike three. And let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Cubs leading 3-2 here in the bottom of the fifth. Harrison has homered and flied to center. Off the plate inside, ball one. First time All-Star last year, hit .315 and an .837 OPS in 143 games. Bust out year for the former Cubs 6th round draft pick out of the University of Cincinnati in 2008. Following year, at the deadline, he was dealt to the Pirates in the Grabo Gorzolani deal. The Cubs acquiring a couple of left-handers.
A real breakout year for him, an all-star, and it wasn't just a matter of a good player having a great first half. He continued on, had a very good second half as well. Super utility guy. Now the everyday third baseman with Pedro Alvarez making the move to first.
Check on Cervelli. Three and one with Walker on deck. Cubs bench wanted an appeal on a check swing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, and Joe, with the way he asked for that appeal, there's no way.
Right.
First base umpire Gabe Morales was going to overrule him.
You know, all the Cubs wanted was an appeal.
Yeah. Well, wasn't it Joe that he get into it with somebody not too long ago?
Torrey Hunter, right?
Yeah.
Three and two.
Yeah, once they call a swing, they're not going to appeal it, no matter how many times Luis Valbuena asks them to. But, you know, Wes rung up Torrey Hunter, and Torrey said, man, I wish he would just ask. And got into a little bit of a spirited debate.
Castro is out, and he's got it. Pirates leave a runner. After 5, it's 3-2 Cubs. Club at Wrigley Field. Your guests will enjoy an all-inclusive top-shelf bar and gourmet food in this high-end space while enjoying the game with celebrities and former Cubs. For information, including other premier options, it's Cubs.com/suites. Radames Liz is on.
Liz is. He's on for the third time. He's 0-1 with an ERA of 5.40. Spent all of last year in the minor leagues. The previous 3 seasons, he pitched in Korea. Big league time with the Orioles in 07, 8, and 9. Not a lot of it. 21 starts, 6-8 with a 7.51 ERA coming into this season.
Debuted with Baltimore in 2007. Breaking ball strike to Castro.
Slurvy slider there, and he's got a fastball that sits right around 93 miles an hour and a changeup as well.
Deep to center. McCutcheon will watch it go. Well, he looked like he was going to catch it. Starlin Castro with a booming home run to make it 4-2.
They're shrinking this big ballpark. Second hit of the night for Castro. Second home run on the year for Starlin. And that's the thing, you know, working the count the way they did strike out 9 times against Lariano, but they forced an early exit because of the pitch count. They get into middle relief and looking to do some damage, and Castro starts it off with one big swing of the bat.
53rd career home run for Castro. His 5th in this ballpark. It's the most he's hit in any visiting ballpark. And he's also now hit 11 against the Pirates, by far his most against any opponent. Did you think that was out off the bat, the way McCutchen reacted?
I was watching McCutchen. I mean, I knew it was hit pretty good, but no, the way McCutchen reacted, I thought he was going to be able to, or at least he thought he was going to be able to run it down.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. So the Cubs have struck out 10 times in this one, but they've worked a lot of deep counts, and they got Liriano out of the ball game after just 5 innings. Ball 1 on Castillo. What was
he's getting after Cervelli? Thought it was a strike, and Wellington's getting after Cervelli for trying to pull the ball back into the strike zone, I think. Like, what is he doing to me? So he's telling Joe, don't buy it.
That ball hit a ton. Deep left center. Marte onto the warning track, and it's off the wall. Castillo will have a double. Well, that's the deepest part of this yard, and if he had hit it anywhere else, it would have been a home run.
Well, that's a home run swing there. He thought he got it. And as Len mentioned, just about any other part of the ballpark or any other ballpark, it probably does leave the stadium.
Marte got a glove on it. Ball 1 on Travis Wood, who has struck out both times. Russell's major league debut, very quiet defensively at second base. I don't think he's had anything hit at him. 0 for 2 at the plate. His team leading by a couple, and is Wood with another home run cut. 1 and 2.
When Liz played in Korea, he played for the LG Twins. The teams over there are owned by corporations.
Ground ball up the middle. Gung came over from Korea. Makes the play.
Yeah, he played for Hyundai something or others. MLB.TV Premium is #1 for streaming live sports. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details.
Castillo now at third. Here's Russell with 2 outs. .11 games at Iowa, hit .318. In 5 of those games, he played second base. That's it. The rest of his pro career, he's played nothing but shortstop. 1-1.
Castillo taking some liberties going down the third baseline, trying to get into Liz's head a little bit.
Brian Schlitter up in the Cubs bullpen.
Tight slider for strike 2.
Foul tip, strike 3. So he's 0 for 3 tonight. But Starlin Castro continuing his stellar month of April. 2 hits tonight, 2 RBIs, and a home run. It's 4-2.
Summary, well, we head to the bottom of the 6th. Cubs lead 4-2. Chris Bryant, double, a couple of driven in tonight. Dexter Fowler doing his thing with a couple of walks, 2 scored. Castro, a couple of knocks, including a home run. And Travis Wood touched the leadoff home runs in the 1st and 2nd, but not much else. Now the Dream Garage sales event now at your Honda dealer.
Neil Walker, strike 1.
Pretty good let up. Well, this is a dangerous part of the game. Part of the order up, getting their 3rd look at Travis Wood. It'll be at the top of your game, and he delivers a dandy of a changeup. Changing the eye level with a high heater. Now where's he going? Backdoor cutter.
Wood is 28. Coming off a very tough year last year. After the best year of his career, an All-Star 2013. we've seen early on this year. Looks a lot more like that season than 8-13, 5.03 season last year.
Yeah, you break down last year, the two things that jump out at you, the walk rate, much higher. His strikeout rate was actually higher than his All-Star year, but he walked too many, and right-handed hitters really did a lot of damage against him last year.
And his second walk allowed.
Yeah, but being a fly ball pitcher and the way the ball is jumping here tonight, I think that's going to be the end of it for him here tonight.
McCutchen due up. A bunch of right-handed hitters in the offing, so it'll be sinker baller Brian Schlitter when we return. Plus, charged with 2 runs, 1 more would be on his record. Brian Schlitter's trying to strand that man. That's Neil Walker. So he'll take over with 1 on and nobody out in the 6th.
Travis can win this game, cannot lose it. Schlitter, after a good start, has kind of hit some bumps in the road here lately. We are right now at 675 as he comes on for the 6th time. Gotten hurt with a couple of long balls on elevated fastballs. Got a little extra jump on his fastball this year. Velocity's been up. That's a good thing. He's down around the knees. That's a very good thing. Up against it here with Andrew McCutchen stepping in.
Schlitter making his 74th Major League appearance, all coming with the Cubs, his hometown team. First to check on the runner Walker. Well, I like the matte finish helmets, the new helmets the Pirates are wearing.
Yeah, somebody else was wearing those too the other day. I saw on a televised game.
Maybe the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, those are sharp. One to 0 the count as Wood just has to sit and watch these final 4 innings.
Battle of wills here. Schlitter tries to get that sinker in under the hands of McCutchen, looking for a ground ball. McCutchen's looking for something out over the middle of the plate. He can drive.
It's 3-0. Corey Hart on deck. There goes Walker on the run and hit, and it's ball 4. The Pirates have 2 on with nobody out.
And Corey Hart's being called back, and Pedro Alvarez comes out of the Pirate dugout.
Hurdle always chopping on that gum. Alvarez not starting tonight for the first time this season. We mentioned they had been facing nothing but right-handed starters, but he is in off the bench to hit against Schlitter.
Yeah, this is a very dangerous matchup. Alvarez with all kinds of power, good low fastball hitter. I think Wellington Castillo felt like Schlitter was a little too aggressive with that one. He's set up off the outside corner, wants that sinker down and away, and that is right there in the center square.
Alvarez, a low average, high slugging guy. He's hit over 30 home runs a couple of times, or at least 30, 2 different seasons. Led the league with 36, 2013. The 1-1.
Good pitch.
1-2.
Hey, so Alvarez comes off the bench. You know, he's looking for something he can jack out of here. So you try to stay away from power. Sinkers down and away. Make him work hard to do it. And if he does try to pull it, he might roll over and get a ground ball and perhaps a double play ball.
Edwin Jackson hasn't pitched much, but the 2 times he has worked in relief, he's been good. And the Cubs need some help there on the right side in the bullpen with Grimm and Ramirez both on the disabled list. Still 2-2.
I like Wellington Castillo, you see, giving Schlitter some feedback. Baby, stay away. Now, you know, normally in pitching, you try to change speeds, you move the ball in and out on guys, but here you're primarily just trying to stay away from Alvarez's power. And Schlitter's not a guy who changes speeds very often anyway. He throws his fastball a high percentage of the time.
Here it comes. It's full. Well, Wood walked Walker, and then Schlitter walked McCutchen to start this inning, and he's gone full on Alvarez. He was definitely a strikeout candidate. Big pitch here. Ground ball. Backhanded play. Castro to Russell, and they do get it out at second base. So first and third. And here comes Marte. A
big pitch there by Schlitter. Nice play by Castro. Moving to his right to backhand this ground ball.
Chris Bosio to the mound.
one thing that Addison Russell will learn with time at second base. He's got to learn the timing of when he has a legitimate chance to turn a double play and when he just needs to make sure he gets that out at second base and gets out of harm's way. Play like that, sometimes you can be a little too quick, come off the bag and not get an out. And again, I think it just speaks to the confidence that the Cubs have in this kid's ability to make adjustments, his baseball IQ. To have played just 5 games at the position and bring him up to play here speaks volumes about their confidence in him.
By the way, we've got some questions about Wellington Castillo if he's wearing nail polish. They actually have these stickers now the catchers can wear, especially for night games, to help the pitchers better see the signs.
Woody's watching this inning like he's watching a scary movie.
Yeah.
Just kind of peeking out from behind the blankets every now and then.
John Baker gave me a packet of those stickers last year we were talking about.
Yeah, I remember we had him on. You had him on air.
Phil Koch has joined Jackson. Cubs would love to turn 2 here and get out of this inning. The pitch. Low, ball 1.
Very dangerous hitter right now, Starling Marte.
Ground ball through. 4-3. Marte has been their best hitter in this series. Couple of home runs and the RBI single. That run charged to Wood.
Able to clear that front side and get to the fastball down around the knees on the inside part of the plate. That'll close the book on Travis Wood.
Gong is 1 out of 2, but after his single in the 4th inning, he was promptly picked off by Travis Wood. First and second, 1 away and a strike. Strike 2.
Bullet to the outside corner. Again, Schlitter 95-96 consistently this year.
Gong turned 28 on April 5th. So Cervelli on deck. Blocked by Castillo. Not unimportant here with only 1 out. Want to keep that tying run. Getting to third base.
Keep the double play in order. So Gong that time not using that big leg kick. With 2 strikes, he quiets the lower body down a little bit. Sacrificing power for contact. Gets up on that front toe. as opposed to that big leg kick that he normally uses.
Alvarez at second, Marte at first. 2-2 on the way. High chopper. And Russell with his first chance makes the play. Second and third, 2 outs.
Yeah, good aggressive break on that ball by Russell. Not an easy play at all. Get a good look at it here as he's up on the balls of his feet, ready to react as that pitch is being made. He's got a base runner crossing in front. Well done.
So the good news is 2 outs in the inning, and Schlitter with a chance to get out of it with the Cubs still leading. The bad news is a base hit to the outfield will tie the game, or actually give the Pirates the lead, as they're down 1 but have 2 in scoring position. Pitch to Cervelli, ground ball into center, 1 run in. Here comes another. And unfortunately, it's that second scenario that comes to pass. It's 5-4 Pirates.
A tough break for Travis Wood. He was good tonight. That leadoff walk got things started. He'd love to start this inning all over again. If he gets Walker, he likely stays in the game. But moot now. Schlitter tries to knock that one down with his foot. Comes up empty. Cervelli out for the 3rd time tonight, a walk and a couple of base hits. It's just hard to make a living at this game, essentially being a one-pitch pitcher, and that's what Brian is. There's a slider. Have to be so precise.
A big night for Cervelli in the 7th spot. A walk, 2 singles, and the go-ahead 2-run hit. Bullpen got off to such a great start. It has been a struggle here the last few days. Nine runs allowed, including tonight in the last 4 games after giving up just 5 runs in the first 9 contests. Another ground ball. This one into center. The Babbitt gods have not been looking down kindly on Brian Schlitter this inning.
Man, I wish they just hit one at somebody. I mean, it's not like he's inducing weak contact. Those ground balls are pretty sharply hit, but that's he's a ground ball guy. A little bit to the left or right on any number of those, and might pitch a scoreless inning.
Here comes Phil Koch with the Cubs now trailing 5-4. try to keep this a one-run game. He will face Gregory Polanco, pinch hitter.
With no record in a 7.36 ERA for 6 games. Last time out against the Padres, he allowed 2 hits and 2 runs, but not retire a batter. A lot of baseball yet to be played. We're only in the 6th.
And ball 1. Reds 1-1.
It used to be the old adage was that the first 6 innings belonged to the players and the last 3 innings were the managers, but we're seeing more and more now with so many good bullpens, a lot of wheeling and dealing in the middle innings of games. More pitching changes, pinch hitters, trying to gain that advantage before you even get to the 7th.
Too low.
Plays for the Rockies.
Thanks for listening. 3-1. TOOLO.
I was waiting for the clap.
Too low.
Too low.
Three runs in, 2 men on. Foul.
Edwin Jackson continuing to throw out there. Josh Harrison, dangerous right-handed hitter, would be next.
Jared Hughes up for the Pirates. Runners go on the 3-2 pitch, swing and a miss to end the inning. 3 pitchers, 8 batters, and the Pirates now have the lead. CHN Cubs fan cam. That is Smooth Criminal, great cover years ago by Alien Ant Farm. That's the old Michael Jackson tune. And we actually hung out with the guitar player last night watching some hockey after the game.
This is who?
Alien Ant Farm. Yeah, they're from L.A. and they're in town playing a gig tonight. And I think they're going on here in a few minutes, actually.
You're going to go over and play with them?
No.
Come on.
Dexter Fowler against Jared Hughes, grounds out. Rodriguez now playing first, and Polanco in right as we start the seventh. Terry Corso, the guitar player from Alien Ant Farm, big sports fan. Got a chance to meet him last night. We were watching the end of the Ducks-Jets game in Winnipeg. And I think we've converted him to a Cubs fan. Ball one on Rizzo.
We'll have to get him out to the ballpark sometime.
Absolutely. Their first album, they called it The Greatest Hits, which I think is
it's awesome.
The second album was called Anthology.
Best of.
That's good stuff. 2-0 now on Rizzo. Cubs are down for the second time. But as JD mentioned, long way to go. That is twisting into foul territory and no play. Got Soler on deck. Rizzo. When Soler gets on base, we'll see Chris Bryant.
The challenge against Hughes is try to get the ball up in the air. He's a power sinker baller, gets a lot of ground balls.
It's like Jason Mott has joined Jackson in the bullpen. Depending on what the score is when we go to the bottom of the seventh, it'll either be Edwin or Jason Mott. And with the injuries to Grimm and Ramirez, there's an opening. There's a chance here for somebody to grab this opportunity. Schlitter has struggled. Rizzo high and deep. Left center field. On the track, it's caught by Marte. That was an almost.
Yeah, boy, it's a big ballpark, and especially going the other way, but a pretty good bid here by Anthony Rizzo. Funny, it looked like he thought he got it. We saw Castillo. He thought he had a home run earlier. Just a big yard. You got to make sure you run. It didn't matter in Rizzo's case. The ball was caught. Wellington's, perhaps he could have gotten to third on his double. Not likely.
Bounced into left for a base hit. So Soler, after an 0 for 3 start, is on the hit board, and he'll get Chris Bryant to the plate. You know what they've not done in this ballpark that I really appreciate? They haven't moved any fences in. And some of these other bigger ballparks, New York, it seems like every year they make some adjustment. They did it in Detroit. But This is a big place in left center.
They moved
yes, Seattle did too.
Nelson Cruz is making that ballpark play small.
2 RBIs for Bryant this evening. Another ball hit hard and into left center. Soler will make the turn and get to third. Bryant's got 2 more hits tonight. And a 2-out rally setting it up for Castro.
2 hits and a deep drive to center field for Chris Bryant. It looks like this is going to become the norm. That ball is smoked. Got a lot of top spin. Soler with those long legs chewing up the turf on his way to third. It's not that easy.
Chris Bryant now 8 out of his last 14.
Wind has picked up even more.
Appears to be kind of blowing toward left. And the Cubs are going to tie it as Harrison could not make that play cleanly on the short hop. Castro's on base. It's 5-5. E5, an error on Josh Harrison.
We talked about Castro earlier in his contact skills. He puts the ball in play almost all the time. Harrison had plenty of time. Kind of flailed at that ball a little bit.
Coughlin for DeNorfia. Outside, ball 1 from Hughes. All this happened with 2 outs. Singles by Soler and Bryant. And then the error by Josh Harrison. Todd Frazier has just hit a grand slam for the Reds, who lead at Milwaukee in the 4th, 8-4. Here's a pitch. Close, but it missed. 3-0. Castillo on deck. Brett Anderson, Tim Lincecum later tonight. Dodgers are in San Francisco. Giants are already 6 games out. 3-1.
Away, away, away. And on the edge. Giants the only team in the West with a losing record right now.
Base hit right field. Coming around third is Bryant. The throw to the plate is in time. Bryant called out by Joe West. Joe Madden probably going to challenge this.
Joe was walking out of the dugout before the play was made. I think he made up his mind that he's going to at least take a little time. It's just a good play all the way around. Great swing of the bat. Polanco. The ball got a little in on him a little bit, but he still comes up, makes a strong one-hop throw. Nice catch and tag by Cervelli.
Yeah, did Bryant get to the plate is the question. He looked like the setup was fine. There was no illegal blocking.
Oh, he looked safe.
If his foot got in.
Yeah, he looked safe.
Cubs are going to have the lead, so they'll take a look at it.
It took Cervelli just a moment to gather himself after he caught that ball before turning and trying to apply the tag. The good tight turn at third base by Chris Bryant. Among the many things he does well, he appears to be a good base runner too. We've seen him be a little reckless here in the early going, but he's athletic. He runs well.
They're showing it on the board. It is.
Well, the angle they're showing on the board it doesn't really give you a very good look. The fans are just responding the way fans do. They see what they want to see. See, I don't think the tag gets applied on the back of the leg, and I think Bryant was there ahead of the tag. It was close. Maybe if he goes with a more direct feet first slide. It's kind of
Chris is looking at the board too, and it looks like he's not even sure. Let's see.
He's just trying to take evasive action to go to the back corner of the base. I think if he just goes feet first hard towards home plate, it's going to be a little more obvious. I thought he was in there, and whether they overrule it or not remains to be seen.
And even on a 50-50 call from the video room, you got to challenge this. It's that big a call. Trying to buy a run here to take the lead. So they have upheld the out call.
Yeah.
Stretch time.
I'm with you, Joe. Yep.
He might have that out call. When they went to review, they could not find anything definitive to say he was definitely safe. It sure looked like it.
Yeah, hard to tell if Cervelli actually tagged him. It was really, really close. And I can understand the argument that since it was called out initially, the call stands. But I thought that was the case in the play last night, and they overruled it. So I don't know. You can vote at home. Vote 1-800 he was safe.
Tie ball game 5-5. Conklin, who thought he had the go-ahead pinch hit single, picked up a single, but not an RBI. And a ground ball to the shortstop. Castro makes the play.
Show you bleed Cubby Blue by becoming a member of the Cubs Club, the official fan club of the Chicago Cubs. Members will enjoy game day audio and exclusive perks throughout the 2015 Cubs season. Now is the perfect time to join, rejoin, or give a fellow Cubs fan the gift of a Cubs Club membership. To join today, visit Cubs.com. Or tomorrow, for that matter.
By the way, we're getting tweets on Joe West. He did make the out call, but the review is handled in New York. So they had the ultimate say once the call is challenged. They don't ask Joe, what did you think?
Yeah, right.
Joe already told us what he thought.
He's just listening.
Yeah.
Jamming with a cutter here. Travis Wood, 5 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, all earned. Walked a couple, struck out 5. Brian Schlitter, 2/3 of an inning, 3 hits, 2 runs. Phil Koch, a third, scoreless with a strikeout, and now Mott.
Diving stop, Bryant up with it, throw to first, and over Rizzo. It'll be a hit, most likely. He had to leave his feet to field the ground ball in the first place, and it is an infield single for Walker.
And fortunately for the Cubs, the ball stayed in play. No further advance for Walker. Good try here by Bryant, playing way off the line. He had to unload quickly and was underneath the throw.
McCutchen 0 for 2 with a walk. Ball, 1 strike. There it is. Nice ball from Mott. Got away from him. And crowd not too happy about it.
Well, there was a little dust up last year with McCutchen in Arizona where they dotted him in the back after Paul Goldschmidt had gotten hit. But clearly there's no intention here. Fans being fans. 5-5 ball game in the 7th with the man already on base. Fastball that got away from Mott.
Yeah, the official ruling, by the way, on the replay was call stands. So it wasn't as if replay confirmed the call. It simply could not come up with conclusive evidence.
So Lambeau to hit here for Hughes. Left-handed hitter with some power. Spazio out with the scouting report. Do you think his nickname is Curly?
That'd be a good one.
or field.
Chopped to Rizzo. Throw will go to second base as they force McCutchen there. And they're at the corners now with 2 away.
Here comes Marte. And the man so far tonight for the Pirates. Home run single, 2 scored, 2 driven in.
Load the bases now and face the shortstop. Gung is on deck. Well, maybe not as crazy as last night's game, but
yeah,
we got a lot going on tonight
to digest, too. Yeah. See, that's where you could find fault with Clint Hurdle's lineup tonight, having Gung, who's very much unproven, behind Marte, who's their hottest hitter right now. Really makes this an easy decision for Joe Madden to walk Marte.
So 3 on, 2 out. And a 5-5 tie here in the 7th. Here we go. Good start, strike 1.
Did it catch the corner? Nope. Might as well try it again, though. Exploit it, take advantage. Nope.
Hit well. Fowler going after it. This is all kinds of trouble. 3 runs are going to score. Gung with the biggest hit of his young major league career just cleared the bases, and the Pirates lead 8-5.
Said the decision to walk Marte was easy. Didn't mean it would be necessarily easy to get out of the inning. Gung, who had been struggling, delivers his fastball, catches way too much of the plate. Powerful swing of the bat there by Gung. And man, bullpen has really struggled here of late. I don't think it really would have mattered if Fowler broke in on that ball initially.
Fouled off by Cervelli. So what was a huge strength in the first 10 days or so of the season has become a problem area, and that's the bullpen. Left-hander Tony Watson will probably get the 8th. The 0-2, ground ball to Castro. He gloves and throws to Rizzo, and they got him. Back-to-back 3-run innings for the Pirates. It's 8-5. with a big 3-run double to give the Pirates the lead in a seesaw affair tonight. And it is getting late. 2 more innings left offensively against the best part of the Pirates bullpen, starting with left-hander Tony Watson.
And Watson, an all-star last year, on for the 9th time this. He's 0-1 with a .338 earned run average. He's got an .068 ERA in his last 53 games in this ballpark.
Fastball missing to Castillo. David Ross is in the on-deck circle to bat for Mott. Strike call. Fly ball to deep center. Back on it is McCutchen. That ball is gone. A home run for Wellington Castillo. Cubs are not done yet. 8-6.
Is this really PNC Park?
The ball jumping tonight.
Man, Castillo just missed a home run last time up. Had to settle for a double. This time he gets to trot around the bases. It's number 2 for Wellington. Oh, man, big high finish.
Castro and Castillo have connected for the Cubs. Harrison and Marte for the Pirates. Now the veteran Ross.
That fly ball flying out here straightaway center field will get you down in the zone a little bit. Watson buries that one down in the dirt.
Ross gets under one to left. Marte is in. And he's got it.
Clark, the official team mascot of the Cubs, could be part of your next gathering. From charity events, wedding receptions to birthday parties and grand openings, Clark wants to be a part of it. Email him directly, clark@cubs.com, or visit cubs.com/Clark for more information on how to book him for your special event.
Strike called on Addison Russell, 0 for 3 in his big league debut. 21 years old, youngest player in the NL. 0-2, playing second base. And batting ninth in the Cubs order. Stays alive.
Pace High School in Florida. His grandfather Jerry is here from Pensacola to see him play tonight.
An awkward cut and a miss. Strike 3.
His debut, very much like Chris Bryant's, and we know what the Bryant story has been since his first game.
It's the 12th Cub strikeout. 9 were against Liriano, the starter who went 5.
Watson last year, he won 10 games out of the Pirate bullpen. He was 10-2 with a 1.63 ERA. strikeout rate of about 27%, well below league average walk rate. And he's a tough one.
Yeah, no doubt the last couple of years, these playoff runs that Pirates have had, the back end of their bullpen, Watson, Wilson, Grilly, Melanson, only 2 of the 4 are left here in Pittsburgh. All spread through to get Fowler. Leadoff homer Castillo. Cubs are down too late as we go to the bottom of the 8-6 Pirates.
This practice. That's Carnegie Hall. The Cubs suggest the use of public transportation, or bike riders use the Cubs courtesy bike check located near Clark and Addison. And for drivers, the Cubs provide free parking and shuttle services on night and weekend games. That's from 3900 north of Rockwell. For details, visit Cubs.com.
Here's Edwin Jackson.
Ejax. For the 3rd time, and as Glenn mentioned earlier, and effective in his 2 outings so far.
He's faced 15 batters. He's given up 2 hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts. The Mets have won again, 7-1. They beat the Braves to go to 11-3 on the year. It's their 9th consecutive victory. They are 8-0 at home. Curtis Granderson had 3 hits and 4 RBIs. And Jonathan Neese improved to 2-0. Ball 1 to Rodriguez.
Fastball, slider, curve change for Jackson. His velocity's up a bit over last year, and that's probably because he's working out of the pen. We can just really let it go.
Phillies beat the Marlins 7-3 the final. Former Cub Jerome Williams over Dan Herron to send the Marlins to a 3-11 start.
Oof. 95 inside corner at the knees.
1-2. Galvis and Howard, each with their first home runs of the season for the Phillies. Picked up by Russell. Looking ahead to the ninth, it will be Rizzo, Soler, and Bryant. So if Jackson can keep the Cubs within 2, they'll have a chance against Mark Melancon. His velocity's been a little down. Polanco came off the bench, struck out against Phil Koch in the 6th. Back to Jackson. Nice play. His underhand flip to Rizzo.
Good quick reaction to spin around and snare that one.
Tell you what, I don't think we're very far away, JD, from seeing Edwin pitch in some higher leverage situations with the struggles of Brian Schlitter, Mott, giving up 3 tonight too.
Yeah, and that's typically how it works in a bullpen. You're kind of the last guy out there, the long man. The guys in front of you stumble a little bit, and you're throwing the ball pretty well, and the manager gives you a shot in a higher leverage situation.
Winding and throwing, and it's downstairs on Harrison to make it 2-1. Toronto blasting the Orioles 13-6 as they go to the top of the 9th up in Toronto. Bautista and Encarnacion have homered. Encarnacion's hit 2. I wonder how many times they both homered in the same game.
I was looking at the same thing as you said that.
They've got 7 hits combined out of the bottom 3 in their order tonight. That one hit hard, but yanked way foul. Pompey, Pilar, and Goins, big nights. Mentioned Russell Martin earlier. He's only hitting $132. To start his Blue Jays career. Swing and a miss on a power slider at 88 from Edwin Jackson, who continues his stellar work early on. Last chance now, down 2. Pirates, this up and down battle. You see a 3 spot in the 6th. Cubs tied it with an unearned run in the 7th, but then Gunn, the shortstop for the Pirates, just his 3rd start in the big leagues, cleared the bases with a 3-run double. And now it's Mark Melancon.
2 for 2 and save try so far for the veteran right-hander. Despite a 5.06 ERA, but that's not that significant at this stage of the season.
A lot of cutters, curveballs from Melancon. That one muscled out towards center and down for a hit, and it'll bring the tying run to the plate as Rizzo starts the 9th with a bloop single, on for the 3rd time in 5 trips. It's kind of what he does, is get on base.
Yeah, boy, lefties, it's a tough challenge against Melancon because that cutter in on the hands induces a lot of weak contact. But when you're as strong as Rizzo is, you can hit that ball off your thumbs and push it out there into the outfield as he did.
We said this about the Padres over the weekend, and I think you can say it about the Cubs offense. Trailing late is going to feel a little different. They've got some firepower.
Yeah, well, they've already rescued a couple late.
Yep.
They've won once with trailing entering the 9th. They've won twice with trailing entering the 8th.
Soler out toward the gap. Rizzo on his way to 3rd. Soler on his way to 2nd. And the tying runs are in scoring position with nobody out. And here comes Chris Bryant.
Game on. How about Soler? 0 for 3. He got rung up on a bad call first time up. Struck out 2 of his first 3 plate appearances, and then his last 2 times up, he's just got up there first pitch hacking, basically saying, I'm not going to leave it in Joe West's hands. I'm just going to go up there and put a good swing on one. Single to the left last time and a double into the right center alley here. 4 hits last night, 2 more tonight.
That did not take long. Two pitches, 2 hits, right?
Yep.
To start this inning. Infield back. They just want to get an out. They're not worried about Rizzo. Soler's the key guy representing that tying run.
Melancon goes first pitch breaking ball here. Down around the knees. He's allowed 1 home run this year. He allowed just 2 all of last year in 71 innings. 1 the year before in 71 innings pitched.
Cubs trying to rally again here late. They got a leadoff homer from Castillo in the 8th. You've got 2 on with nobody out in the 9th. Another strike.
Yeah, one running off the outside corner as well. It's been a big zone pretty much all night long. Kind of surprising that there's been 14 runs scored in this game. Pitchers really haven't taken advantage of that big strike zone.
The 1-2 on the way is outside. Good take on the curve.
Yeah, you get no sense that there's an accelerated heart rate here for Bryant in this situation. For a young guy, he looks very much under control.
Castro next. And the 3-2 to Bryant. He walked him. They're loaded with nobody out.
How about that approach? Not too eager, not trying to be a hero, accepting his walk.
Very small sample size, but Chris Bryant put up those video game slash line numbers in spring training, and he's doing it again here since coming up on Friday. Batting average of .444. His on base will go up. The 560, slugging .611. What a start. So here's Castro. Base is full. And you could probably hear Starlin ask for time. No pitch.
And I believe he just thanked Joe West for that timeout. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
I don't think too many people have thanked him tonight. On either side.
And Starlin's the opposite. He doesn't have that patient approach. He just has great eye-hand coordination, so he hits all kinds of pitches. 2 years ago, the Cubs were trying to encourage him to be more patient. That didn't really work out. Went back to being Castro last year and had a fine season.
The pitch, 1-1. Single by Rizzo on the first pitch. Double by Soler on the initial offering. Bryant worked a walk on a 3-2. And now it's 1-1 to Castro.
Two-run lead, so the Pirates are playing for two in the infield. Maybe a step the other way for Castro in the outfield.
Here it comes. Bounce to Harrison and over Harrison. And we're tied. Castro knocks in 2. 4 RBIs on the night, and it's 8-8. And now you can get really greedy.
Oh, yeah. And how about the base running of Chris Bryant going to third base on this ball? There's Castro again banging that ball off the dirt, but it works. Big high hop over the head of Harrison.
Still nobody out in an 8-8 tie. And nobody up in the Pirate bullpen. Infield in. Coughlin shanks it foul out of play. Well, if you can grab the lead here, that would make Edwin Jackson a pitcher of record. Miguel Montero is on deck, so he's going to bat for Castillo. So even though Joe Madden has had 3 catchers at his disposal a couple of different times, he's not been afraid to use them all, and that'll be the case tonight. In the dirt. If you got them, use them.
Yeah, and it may, depending on how this at bat plays out, if the Cubs score here, he may call him back. I'm not sure exactly what his ultimate game plan is. The fear is if you end up in a tie game and play deep into the night, you want to save some bullets. Of course, he's got a golden opportunity to untie the game here in the ninth. There's nobody out yet. And, Melancon clearly not at his best, but when he's at his best, I kind of like right-handed hitters against him more than lefties anyway.
Right. You've said that before with the cutter. And you've got Strop and Rondon up. Oakland did not swing.
Nope. Good call.
Swing and a miss. Big punch out for Melancon, and now Montero's heading back into the dugout. Exactly what you mentioned is going to happen. It'll be Castillo. And I think Montero will stay in the on-deck circle. So now the Pirates will play their infield. Corner guys basically in. Double play depth in the middle. And a sharply hit ball to Harrison. He'll have a couple of options.
Castillo doesn't run well, so they like their chances turning two in the middle of the diamond. Madden loves that safety squeeze play, but I don't know if he loves it enough to try it here.
Going to be trouble, and they're only going to get one out as Castillo hit it softly enough where Walker had to make the play at first. Bryant going on contact. Cubs lead 9-8.
So I guess the question is, if the infield is in, do they have a shot at Bryant on that ball? We'll never know.
Yeah, I don't know. He got a good read on it, and it just was not hit very hard. But a field goal night, the Pirates with 2 3-run innings. The Cubs have put one up here in the ninth. Joe likes to joke about it, have that last field goal attempt. These high-scoring affairs, Montero will be intentionally walked.
Yeah, when we were out in Coors Field, he was talking about that. He managed in the Texas League in Midland, and there's a lot of those Coors Field type games there. Just don't anticipate them in this ballpark.
So Joe will have the option of leaving Castillo in the catch or maybe using Montero, depending on how the batting order looks and what he wants to do with his closer, Rondon, in the bottom of the ninth. There's the walk. My guess is on a cold night, Castillo's been in there the whole night. He'll probably stay in the catch, but we'll see.
Yeah, he's in the flow of the game. That would be my guess as well.
See if Russell can salvage one here. 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. They look young, but they don't act young. 1-1. Line right to Gung, the shortstop. Boy, he squared it up. With a 3-run 9th inning. Starlin Castro continues to come through. It's 9-8.
In the top half of the 9th inning. Let's take a look at the base running of Brian. He's on first base. Look how aggressive his secondary lead is, and he just takes off immediately on contact. And pretty aggressive move here, getting to third base on that ground ball base hit into left field, taking advantage of Marte, maybe assuming that Brian wouldn't try to go to third. That turns out to be a huge play in this game. He comes home on the ground ball to second base. Great hustle play.
Okay, so next thing, you've got 2, 3, 4 for the Pirates. That means Walker, McCutchen, and a pinch hitter. And it's Hector Rondon. And Walker fouls.
Yeah, and who's left for the Pirates? Just Mercer, who's banged up, and Stewart, the backup catcher. But first things first, Walker and McCutchen to deal with.
Yep, that's why we saw, I think, Garrett Cole earlier with the short bench. That is a strike, 97 miles an hour. Edwin Jackson would get the win if Rondon can save it. Nearly hit him. Corey Hart started this game. Pedro Alvarez pinch hit. They're both unavailable the rest of the way. Big night for Castro. It is Castillo still catching.
Good heater. Down a little bit. No. Pulled off it, overthrew it a little bit. Don't have to muscle up. You got a 2-run lead here, so you want to make sure you make a pitch to Walker.
First 6 outings, scoreless, 1-inning appearances. Then he gave up 2. The blown save against the Padres the other day at Wrigley Field. 3-2 to Walker. Hit out to deep left center. Fowler going after it, and he's got it. Little tumble as he got to the dirt, but he made the catch, 1 away.
Man, how huge is that? Rondon kind of at the mercy of the count, had to challenge Walker. Put a great swing on it. Fowler's off to the races.
Didn't quite stick the landing, but he made the play.
I think he just wanted to make sure he got 2 feet down in bounds. I said 2-run lead, 1-run lead. Check that previous analysis. Save it for a 2-run game.
You got it. 1 strike on McCutchen. Well, the lead has changed so often tonight.
Upon further review,
I believe it's Stewart on deck, backup catcher. 1-2. It is with Scott Boras in the 3rd row or 4th row watching. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
What a pitch. Just absolutely ate him up with that inside fastball. Castillo sets up, and a less confident pitcher maybe cuts that ball off a little bit, doesn't power it in there.
Right in there on Chris Stewart. He was on the DL to start the season with a right hamstring strain. 1-1. Bounce to Chris Bryant. Throw to first. Cubs win. The comeback Cubs have done it again. They did not win a game trailing into the 9th all of last year, and they've already done it a couple of times this season. Smiles all around as the Cubs improved to 8-5.
It is a new year for sure. You know, last year, down a couple heading into the 9th, we would have been packing up our gear. Not 2015. That was an impressive show by this ball club tonight.
Your final score, the Cubs 9, the Pirates 8. We'll be back in a moment.